All right, for today, section 6.2 is on pay periods and your hourly rates. So we're going to be looking at computing the weekly, semi-monthly, bi-weekly, all of that, depending on if I give you the yearly salary, which we did some of that yesterday. But then we're also going to look at computing your hourly rates, your hourly pay, and overtime pay. So do any of you work a job where you actually make overtime? Oh, wow. All right, those of you that make overtime, is it time and a half or double time? Time and a half. Is there double time at all, even like Sunday or holiday, anything? What's that? On holidays you make double time? That's awesome. It all depends on where you work. All right, so how often do you get paid? Again, this is just kind of a recap from yesterday. So if it's weekly, how often are you paid? It's every week. How many times a year is that? That'd be 52. Good. And again, these are your notes. If you write down verbatim what I have, that's fine. If you have shorthand, feel like I know this, 52, once, like whatever like makes sense to you guys. Okay. All right. What about bi-weekly? How often are you paid? Once every 2 weeks or every other week. You can think of it that way. And how many times a year is that? What, Neil? 26. Good. All right. So you're paid once every 2 weeks, or you're paid every other week. How many of you actually have a job in here? Show of hands if you have a job. That's fantastic. That goes against that stat yesterday, right, about people your age don't work as much as they used to. Most of you have a job. How many of you are paid every other week? How many of you are paid every week? Oh, wow. Anybody paid twice a month? No. All right, so semi-monthly, there's your twice a month. How many times a year is semi-monthly? If it's twice a month. That's 24, right? There's 12 months in a year. And that's how I'm paid, semi-monthly. My husband and I both are, which it actually worked out like I'm paid the 10th and the 25th of the month, and he's paid the 15th and the last day of the month. So it's like the way it works out, we're usually about one paycheck every week then. So it works out kind of nice. And then monthly, it's not very common, but it is, you're paid once a month and you get just 12 paychecks a year. That would be hard, I would think, to manage your money if you got paid once a month. But I think like disability and like those kind of checks, I think those are only once a month. I mean, if you make a ton, you know. Yeah, I honestly can't think of any job that's paid monthly. Not off the top of my head. I mean, do you guys know of any jobs that are paid monthly? Your dad is? Gotcha. So does he make commission then in the meantime, or is he really just one pay? Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. All right. So those of you that have a job, how many of you have direct deposit for your paychecks? Nice. What's it mean to be direct deposit? Yeah, it goes right in, which I don't know why you wouldn't want direct deposit. Right? Paycheck amounts are automatically deposited electronically into your bank account on payday. You don't have to worry about finding the time to go into work, pick up your paycheck, drive to the bank, deposit it in it, right? It just automatically shows up. I think a lot of jobs anymore, that's your only option. I know for me as a teacher, I don't have any other option. It has to be direct deposit. Although it's really nice because I know first thing that morning on my payday, I know my money's in my account, which is nice. How many of you actually physically had to drive to work and pick up your paycheck? Now, what jobs do you do? Jaden, what do you do? A Little Caesars, you had to pick it up. Trinity, what did you have to do? Which bowling alley? The one right over here? Oh, awesome. I didn't know you worked there. And then you said yours? A greenhouse. What greenhouse is it? I hope you live out that way, because that's a far way from here. Do you live out near there? Okay. What did you ask him? Do they pay pretty good at Little Caesars?
I don't know. I'm like above, like I'm more tempted to manager right now, but I can't be manager because I'm 17. But once I turn 18, I'll get it.
Then you get paid even more when you're a manager?
I'll be making 950 right now.
Okay. All right. Next thing is your hourly rates. Obviously, Jaden just told us his hourly rate. I'm curious, you don't have to share if you don't want to, but who makes the most per hour in here? I'd be curious. Is anybody $12 or more? $13 or more? 14 or more? Oh my gosh, you guys, 15? 16? 16.50. Holy smokes. What did you make in the summer? What do you guys do? Okay, that makes sense. Construction. Neil, you had your hand. And what do you do? Makes everybody's $8-9 seem kind of trivial, doesn't it? See, there's a reason they pay you that much, right? Wow. All right, so your hourly rate is just the amount that you get paid each hour that you work, right? That's just your set amount. What is minimum wage right now? Do we know? What is it? $8.75. It was $6.35 when I was in high school. I know, I'm so old. It was a long time ago. $8.30? $8.30? She felt they just raised. Honestly have no idea. I haven't looked. $8.50, $8.30, $8.55, $8.75. Somewhere in that range. Oh, so it just officially went up. Interesting. All right, so overtime, we talked a little bit about that. Again, write what you think is important for you guys to know this. So overtime is your amount of money that you're paid for each hour they work beyond your regular hours. So usually 40 hours, depending on the job, but typically it's 40 hours per week. So anything over 40, you would make, a lot of times, time and a half is the most common, or double time. What's time and a half mean? Good. What you're paid, your normal rate, plus another half of that, right? All right, and again, I think there's just a couple, one of you, I think, that said made double time? I mean, you'd have to pay me a lot to work on Christmas. Oh my gosh. That's nuts. You made good money, right? Paycheck was nice. And then we talked yesterday about gross pay. You guys all seem to know what gross pay was. That's just the sum of your regular pay and your overtime pay together, right? No taxes coming out, nothing. That's how much you make. I know as we get further and further into this, we talk about your gross pay versus like your net pay, what you bring home. Like, it's disturbing. You guys ever really look at that at your paychecks? How much you made versus what you actually bring home? Yeah. And the more you make, the more they take. It's terrible. And I'm like, man, if I actually brought home everything that I made, it'd be fantastic. But you don't, right? I'm hoping with the new tax changes that I get a beautiful tax return this year. Fingers crossed. Actually, I'd heard yesterday that there was talk, because the government's in a partial shutdown right now, that would stop like all of your tax returns from being done. But I actually saw in the news just this morning that is not true. It will, they will make sure they're returned on time. Because I was like, oh, great, because I use that because we go on vacation in the summer. So that's always tax return money that's used to pay for vacation. But I'm like, oh, crap. Like, I can't book anything until I get my tax return. I know, like, a lot of national parks and stuff are. I don't know what all's, I don't know. I'm not a government person. I got C's in government in high school. That's one subject that I'll tell you I wish I would have paid attention more in and learned more of, is government. They're striking? Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are, is that the one you need? Yeah, I know a lot of people are still working even though they're not getting a paycheck. But I guess someone was telling me that even though they're working without pay, that will get retro pay once it comes back. So then they'll get paid for everything that they have worked. But can you imagine not knowing when your next paycheck's coming? You're still going to work, but you're not getting paid right now? It'd be awful. But then I also heard that the government shutdown could go on for years because Trump wants the money for that stupid wall. Sorry, if you're a fan of the wall. Oh, stupid. Never. Do you really want the police department shut down? Stop and think what you're really asking for right now. I don't think you really want that to happen. Right? Yeah, I don't think you want government to go away. It would be very bad. All right. If you do not have a calculator, grab one. That kind of should be your first thing, guys. When you walk in here, put your phone in, grab a calculator. Like, make sure you always have that. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually practice the different pay periods, hourly rates, just doing some computations. Again, we did a little bit of this yesterday. So number one, Christina is paid bi-weekly. Her annual salary is $37,000. What is her bi-weekly salary, rounded to the nearest cent? So what info did they give you for $37,000? What is that? What is this? That's her annual. That's for the year. And if she is paid bi-weekly, how many times a year is bi-weekly? That's 26. So to figure out how much she makes on every check, we just have to do 37,000 divided by 26. We'll find out what her gross and how much cents. There you go. If you round incorrectly on a quiz or test, I will take a point off. So just make sure you're watching for that. Also, if you forget your dollar signs, I take a point off. Yeah, I'm gonna be brutal to you guys. I'll be honest, last semester, first quiz, first test, people lost a lot of stupid points because they rounded wrong and they forgot their dollar signs. But after that, they remember dollar signs. Okay, so just make sure, get in the habit now to actually put those on there. Number two, Manny is paid semi-monthly. His semi-monthly salary is $1,239. What is his annual salary? So we know this is semi-monthly. And how many pays is in semi-monthly? That's 24. So am I dividing again? I'm multiplying, right? Because I'm going the other direction. This is how much every pay, and he makes 24 pays. So how much is it for the year? Good. All right, so sometimes you have to go one direction, sometimes you have to go the other way, right? Just got to read carefully and see what it's actually asking for. All right, easy peasy? Yes, no? No one responded with lemon squeezy? That's disappointing. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy? You guys never heard that? All right, let's talk about overtime. Okay, so time and a half. We talked a little bit about this already. You just have to multiply your hourly rate times 1.5. Right, multiply your hourly rate times 1.5. That will tell you how much you're making. So for example, if your hourly rate is $12.45 and overtime is time and a half, what is your overtime rate? Good. We just have to take the $12.45, multiply by 1.5, which is $18.68. So that's nice. Anytime you're working overtime, you're making $18.68 an hour. All right, and then double time. Just have to multiply your hourly rate by 2. So if you make $12.45 and it's double time, you would make $24.90 per hour. All right, so again, anytime I'm giving you problems, just make sure that you're reading carefully if they make time and a half or double time for overtime. All right, number 3, Maureen works at a local Burger King restaurant. Her regular hourly wage is $9.70. If she regularly works 40 hours per week, what is her regular weekly pay? So what do we have to do? Good, just 970 times 40. So how much does she make per week? Good. So I'm going to guess that's maybe in the rough ballpark of where some of your paychecks come in. How many of you work 40 hours a week or more? Wow. 62? Now, was that in the summer? Not during the school year, I hope.
I worked up 50%.
You guys are crazy. Do most of you average 20-ish? 20 to 30? 20, 30? Okay. That's crazy. All right, if Maureen, from example 3, so that one up there, if she works overtime, she receives an hourly rate of 1.5 times her regular hourly rate. So she makes time and a half. What is her hourly overtime rate? So how do I figure that out? Yeah, 970 times 1.5. So she's making, should be perfect, $14.55 an hour. So do you guys see what I mean when I mentioned yesterday that the math technically in here is not hard math, right? Like it's a lot of multiplying, dividing, stuff like that. The point of this class isn't necessarily to like make you smarter math students as opposed to make you real world ready, okay? This is very real world, right? Most of you have a job, right? You think about how much you're making, how much you're gonna bring home, all of that good stuff. All right, if Janice earns $10 per hour, and her regular hours are 40 hours per week, and she receives time and a half overtime, find her total pay for a week in which she works 45 hours. So, okay, so 45 hours, how many of those are regular? So 40 regular, and then how many is overtime? 5 overtime. Okay, so we just got to kind of think about that split. So we're going to do 40 hours. How much does she get paid for her regular hours? $10. So this is going to be regular. So she makes, what's 40 times 10? It's 400. Okay, what about overtime? What do you got to figure out first with overtime? The overtime rate. So she makes normally 10, but she gets paid time and a half. So how much does she make for her overtime rate? 15. And then how many hours? 75 there. So altogether, how much does she make? 475. All right, I'm going to kind of break this down a little bit because I know what's coming, so I want to kind of break this down for you. Yeah, so when we're figuring these out, like what is our process? Okay, so the first thing we did was we did regular, right? You did your regular hours, and then you multiplied that by your regular rate. And then what did we add on to that? Your overtime hours multiplied by your overtime rate. And then that equaled your total pay. I just want you to kind of see like how we set that up, because I know there's a little bit harder one coming up in 7 and 8. But that's kind of your setup, right? You take your regular hours times how much you make for regular pay, and then you add to that your overtime hours times the overtime pay, and you get how much you make for the week. Okay? So just kind of keep a note of that as we go into like the next slide. All right, so number 6, Josh earns $16 an hour. His regular hours are 40 hours per week, and he receives time and a half overtime. Find his total pay for a week in which he works 47 hours. Let me give you guys a couple minutes to do this one on your own. All right, let's talk through 6 before we get into 7. All right, so he earns $16 per hour, and he works regularly 40 hours. Okay, so 40 hours times 16 gave you 640. Right, that was the regular. And then overtime, we had to figure out 16 times 1.5, which was $24 an hour. And how many overtime hours? 7, which was 168. So then all together, when we add those, $808. All right, any questions with that one? We do okay? Do we have to do number 7? Of course. All right. Now, I told you guys yesterday the math in here is usually pretty simple, but I told you there's always a couple algebraic ones thrown in there. This is one of them, okay? So I kind of broke it down for you on that other one, right, how we set this up. We're going to think of it in the same way. So let's go ahead and jot that up here again. We took your regular rate. How did I write that? I wrote regular hours, didn't I? So your regular hours times your regular rate plus overtime hours times overtime rate equals total pay. If you kind of keep that in mind, that's how we did the other ones. Then it makes the algebra ones a lot easier. Okay, we can just kind of fill in the pieces of it. All right, so Samantha worked her 40 regular hours last week. So where does the 40 go? Regular hours, so that's 40. All right, plus 7 overtime hours. So there's the overtime hours, that's 7. At the time and a half rate. Okay, so overtime is time and a half. Her gross pay was $611.05. Where's that go? Yeah, that's your total pay. What was her hourly rate? What's the part that I don't know? What's the question asking you for? I don't know the hourly rate. I also don't know the overtime rate. Ooh, I actually wrote that really close. All right, so the part we don't know is the rate, which that's what they're asking me to solve. So usually, if you don't know something, what do you put there? An X. Right, regular, though, would just be an X. Right, if I don't know the regular rate, I don't know the overtime either. So what would I put here? I wouldn't write just X, I would write, I don't want a Y, because then I need another equation, and that gets a lot uglier. 1.5X. Who said 1.5X? Somebody said that. Nice job. What if they had said it was double time? What would you have put? You'd have wrote 2X. Yeah. Okay. So how are your algebra skills? Can we finish this? All right, so we have 40X plus, what's 7 times 1.5X? Good. So what did we say, 10.5X? Equals 611.05. Then what would you do? Combine like terms. So that's going to give you 50.5X. Then what? Yeah, just divide by 50.5. So we get X equals what? Yeah, $12.10. Is that her regular rate or the overtime rate? Regular, right? Because you said X was regular. You found X. If I asked you for overtime, you just have to multiply that by 1.5. I didn't ask for that, but just so you know. That wasn't terrible, was it? Yeah, once you see one, yeah, it's not so bad. All right, why don't you guys try number 8 then on your own. All right, so we had 40 regular hours, and we don't know the rate, so it'd be 40X. Plus, this time we had 6 overtime, and it was time and a half again, so 1.5X equals 612.50. Right? Put these together, or that would be 9X. Then we can add our like terms, so we get 49X equals 612.50. So you should have gotten x equals $12.50. I caught a couple of you. I just want to make sure, just in case it shows up again. Some of you gave an answer that looked like this. What's wrong with that? Yeah, money always has 2 decimal spots. Technically not wrong, but I may count off for this because, I mean, that's weird, right? When we're talking money, there's always 2 digits after your decimal point. So just be aware of that, okay? How are we feeling? Tired? Yeah, I'm with you. I'm tired too. Nap time?